The Liberty Meat Solutions podcast is all about food freedom and finding ways to provide for you and your family outside of the system, how to raise and process your own meat and not rely on others to do so. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you enjoy. Hey, thanks for watching my dorky promo video. I had too much fun on my phone the other day just playing around. But welcome to Liberty Meat Solutions Live. It's Saturday morning. It's early. We've got some coffee here, Little Food Forest Farms coffee. And we're going to be joined here in a minute by Nate and Erin over at Two Chicks Farm, or Two Chicks Homestead and School. And we've got all their information there in the show notes on YouTube, and I'll try to update that all on the audio side if you guys are listening in there. You can find this rebroadcast later on YouTube, Odyssey, whatever, if you aren't watching right now. And if not, I hope you're having a great weekend. Couple different things before we get going. We did update a bunch of the merchandise in the shop. I did a little video last night about it quick, but some of these shirts are in, and we tested them. We decided to change that out to full white on the bottom. And but we've got that. Brian over at the Lots Project is going to be repping one of these at the Self-Reliance Festival in Tennessee coming up here next weekend too. So if you want to kind of check that out and see the first draft, meet up with him. And we're going to get all that stuff going. I've got some ideas on changing stuff up with the spice and everything with the Renegade Butcher. We'll see how that goes. You can check some of that stuff out on the other side of it there. But anyway, we're going to get Nate and Erin in here, and we're going to talk this morning and see what they've got going on before they decide to go buy some new ham radio equipment. If you are interested in anything that we got going on here and you want to try to support the show, you can that way use it Tip Lightning to tip. You can find renegadebutcher.com. You can find libertymeatsolutions.com and catch up with everything we've got going on. But check out Nate and Erin stuff over there at twochickshomestead.com. And with that, we are being joined by them. And good morning, Nate and Erin.
Good morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Hey. How you guys doing this weekend so far? Been a busy week?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah.
I got up early. You slept in a little bit today,
A
which
little
is
bit.
pretty good. So
Good.
hanging out with the neighbor last night down by the pond, having a fire and chit-chatting a little bit. So
even better.
Yep.
So you guys have done quite a bit on your. Well, tell me a little bit about your homestead. Give me the cliff notes here.
Sure.
For people who don't know.
So we're in north central Illinois, about 60 miles west of Chicago, and we have a half acre here. We back up to 400 acres of monocrops, and we have a layer or a flock of layer hens. 8 of those right now. It's our second flock. Mm-hmm. We have a trio of meat rabbits, and then we also do Cornish crosses every other year. And then we process a hog from the local butcher or from the local farmer. We buy it from them, and we do all that ourselves.
Nice. That's quite a bit. And you guys are doing it on like you said a half acre?
Yeah, half acre.
That's pretty dang impressive. I think I grew up on a quarter to half acre, kind of over on the far west side of Illinois. So okay. I get the area you're talking about. For us, I wish we had cropland back behind us. I mean, monocrop can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but we had crop production service. Okay. Like that whole big gravel stretch of chemical tanks that was right behind us, and the highway on the other side. So never really got the opportunity to do all that stuff, and my parents weren't really into the whole livestock side of it. So I wish I had that when I was coming up. I know your two girls were probably pretty lucky to get involved in that when they're young, because I'm sure y'all have had that experience too. It's a little harder to kind of get into the understanding the meat side of things and raising it yourself when you're not brought up in it. You know, there's a learning curve there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think they've gotten to the age now where we're doing it long enough that they appreciate it. Now, at first it was like, what are we doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, they get a chance to understand that and sort of, form that in their mind when they're young and understand where their food came from. And so, I mean, when you guys first got into it, because neither of you were really farm kids, right?
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
So when you got into it, was that like, what was the hardest part about, having to dispatch your own and process your own?
I think we did really good until Nate brought up the rabbits.
Yeah.
For me at first, it was like, what? Like, nobody does that.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, but it's a bunny.
Yeah, they're fuzzy.
I mean,
they're like kittens.
But
The
they're
rabbits,
delicious, though. I can't say they're
they
more
are.
delicious than kittens. I haven't had a kitten,
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm
yeah,
assuming. I'm assuming.
Yeah, we cannot compare that. But yeah,
Right.
we got the rabbits because we couldn't get Cornish crosses. So
Mhm.
it was we went down that rabbit hole, pardon the pun.
Literally.
But we went looking for Cornish crosses earlier in the year, and this was like right
Mhm.
when the human malware virus kicked off.
Oh yeah.
And you couldn't find anything anywhere at the beginning, and
No.
I think we found them later in the summer, but I was able to source a trio of rabbits about an hour and a half south of us.
Right.
So I was able to get down there and get those guys picked up, and it was a learning curve.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I'm sure.
there was
Now, if you guys had to pick like between rabbits or meat chickens, like what would be your preference as far as raising, processing? I mean,
rabbits.
rabbits. Yeah. I'm jealous because I've tried the rabbit thing down here in Texas, and it's a lot harder in Texas than it is up there. So I used to hunt rabbit, and I love how easy they are to process, how easy they are to skin, how much you're like chicken when you're eating them.
Yeah.
It's like chicken on easy mode.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely. They reproduce.
But the thing is, I can't keep them breeding here. Like I tried for a year, and maybe the numbers are off. I don't know. Nothing I read was like specific scientific data, but from what I understand, the males like go sterile above 85 degrees.
Yeah,
so,
that's what I've heard as well. So we usually give them a break in the summer.
Right. And for me, though, over 85 degrees is about 9 months of the year.
Yeah.
So it makes it really hard to raise them. For me, it's probably, honestly, I'm probably whining because it's like y'all trying to raise broiler chickens. You got about 3 months of the year you can do it reasonably without potentially losing young ones. Yeah. So, but for me, poultry is just way easier to keep alive down here. So I go with that. And for me, I like hogs, but I've got a little bit more space to play with. Mm-hmm. I'm on about 16 acres that's shared with some family and everything. So I've got space there, but most of it's woods. And realistically, I have maybe about an acre around the house that I use. So you can do a lot on an acre though. So you guys are doing all this stuff on a half acre, and you've got the house on there, and I'm assuming the garage and everything like that. So when you're trying to utilize that small of a space and not like leave a scorched earth type deal, how do you guys manage that?
Really, we bring a lot of food in. So rabbits are mainly pellets, and then we grow some greens for them in either a hydroponic or kale in the garden. We have a spot that's over on the west side of our house. That's what would you say, a 20 by 40 area?
Yeah.
20 foot by 40 foot. And we just seeded that with like turnip greens and clover, what was it? A bunch of different stuff, ryegrass, just to, have some kind of fodder for them. And that's where we put all our comfrey as well.
That's a good way to do it. And so how much comfrey are y'all gonna raise out there? Are you just getting it started, or you got like a whole row of it?
Yeah, well, we've got it from Brian. From the Lots Project.
Yep. Speaking of, he just dropped in the comments. I just looked at the comments. I was wondering why my Telegram popped up that I got a mystery tip. He tried the QR code over here, and apparently it worked for him. Cool. So he dropped me 169 Satoshis and just popped up. I'm like, who the heck? It was from a mystery person. So it doesn't tell me when they scan the QR code. But yeah, he says, hey, what's up, guys? He's in the comments, and he said he dropped you a tip, and it worked out good. So cool. But yeah, no, his comfrey thing is really kicking off. He's they're getting ready to wrap that up. So he's like sort of selling it, breaking it up into sections. So you guys can go over to lotsproject.com and check that out if you guys want to get into comfrey. And it's a really useful herb. He's selling like big boxes of it and like help if you want to start raising it and selling it yourself. So pretty good opportunity there. But I love raising this stuff. I would get some from him and start it myself, but I already have some, so it makes no sense for me. And I don't want to raise it and sell it like a ton. It's just not for me. But for the utility of it, I've used it forever for herbal use. Yeah, and it's great for fodder too, though. So I mean, didn't you just get some and it was like 2 weeks later?
Yeah,
it's already popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, last year I got some from Nicole at Living Free in Tennessee. I brought some back with me. I put it in a pot, and then it didn't make it over the Illinois winter. So I was like, well, Minnesota is probably easier to transfer. So
Mhm.
now that's in the ground. But yeah, it's
Probably.
already like 4 inches tall. A couple of them. There's
Yeah.
2 of them now out there that came up
Jeez.
already just since like a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. It grows really fast. And
Yeah.
And looks like maybe we
Yeah, it looks like it froze.
but yeah, we're excited to try that Comfrey.
Yeah, we have it over on the west side, and then we have it over by the garden as well.
Yeah, so trying it in 2 different spaces to
Mhm.
see partial shade and full sun. But
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to get it before Brian left the property.
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to get it in there, get it set up, and we want to be able to use it. I know you want to make some stuff with it as well.
Yeah.
So,
And who knows, maybe make some money from it.
yep, we'll see. So,
But yeah, it's kind of nice to have it out by the garden.
yep. Yeah, no, that's where we usually go. You're out there all the time, so you can go check it out and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. So
looks like
he's
Josh.
gone. So I'm not sure if this is even still working. But I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
It's kind of, you never know what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Got that right. And I see you, Brian. How's it going? Last project?
Yeah. I've had a couple people ask in the past if we've ever had, any Comfrey, and at the time I was like, I don't even know what that is.
Mhm. Yeah. Now we got one over there. We got what, 10 pieces, 12 pieces, I think.
It was more than 10
Yeah.
for sure.
And we got
okay. Thanks for hanging out. Holy smokes.
no problem.
I love my internet. We went to the backup and I just tethered straight to my data. So we'll just eat the mobile data there. Sorry about that, guys.
That's okay.
Living in the sticks, I wish I had good, like hard line fiber or something like that. But no, there's not even cable on my road. So one day, hopefully, I've thought about getting one of those cell phone towers that pops up and connects everybody else. So if anybody listens to the audio broadcast, I hope you guys were talking. If not, I'll cut that section out and we'll just throw that. We'll just throw that side in the audio. Awesome. Thanks for holding down the fort. Brian over at Lots Project did the same thing. So gotta love it.
It happens.
I'm thinking if I've got some good interviews going on, I need to like rent a hotel room or something. Anyway, we were talking about Comfrey and stuff. I had the thought though. Have you guys tried fodder trees at all for rabbits? Have you fiddled with that yet? Or
we just learned about that when we went to the LFTN workshop. I don't know if we have the space. I know our neighbor lets us forage his property. He's got about 3 acres. That's where we get our mulberries and our elderberries. And
well, you've got mulberry. So right there, that is a great fodder tree. And a good portion of the year that's producing like crazy, but it's not really producing berries.
Right.
So I've got a ton of wild red mulberries down here. And I know it's not as high protein as the white, but it's still a good fodder tree.
Yeah,
they just grow up wild everywhere here.
Yeah.
And then when you weed, you're pulling those things out too, because they pop up everywhere, especially in the spring after the birds are out there eating all those mulberries. So that's really good fodder. I've been playing with that, trying to use it some, but mostly the birds don't hardly touch it. Got a pasture pony horse and a goat out here, and they love it though. So make sure I load them up on it. But I was thinking, there's a lot of the hybrid poplar that everybody talks about. When I was growing up there in Illinois, we had a row of poplars. And they're easy to grow in like coppice, so they don't have to get huge. And then the willows, you can grow them pretty much anywhere. I've seen people though growing them in like stock tanks and buckets and stuff. You just have to keep them wet.
Yeah.
I don't know, just an idea. But anyway, you can feed like rabbits and stuff. If you can feed them for free, that's the thing. You can probably get away with feeding rabbits for free if you've got a little space to grow something. You can't really do that with chickens unless you've got access to a place to grow some crops, some seed crop.
Yeah, I just get nervous with the rabbits because they seem so sensitive that it's like I don't want to. So we're slowly adding. Like we have creeping Charlie like crazy up here, but everything says they can't eat that, and it's like what?
Yeah, it's green stuff. They should really eat it.
Yeah,
and it's like
I think so.
Everywhere I read it says they can't eat turnip greens. Well, I just planted a bunch of turnip greens, so we'll see how that goes.
Well, I don't know. I'm hesitant about some of that stuff too, because if you guys have followed, and I'm sure you have, any of the Facebook groups or whatever, when it comes to chicken people, they're chicken ladies. They're the craziest. They'll be like, no. If they eats this, they'll die. Just the weirdest stuff we're talking about old ladies that go out with like a cat litter scoop every day and scoop up their chicken poop in the coop. So
Yeah,
but they have a whole list of things that are supposed to kill chickens that have never killed my chickens. Just like there's a whole bunch of things that are supposed to kill pigs that have never killed my pigs when I toss my leftovers to them. So I think that maybe if you were sitting there and feeding like Hershey's chocolate bars to your chickens every day, they'd probably die. But a little bit here and there is probably not going to hurt them. And even some stuff that can be kind of toxic often acts like a wormer. So I think maybe you have to experiment and learn yourself.
Yeah.
And hopefully not kill things. But that's the other thing though. And I know you guys have experienced this, and it's got to be harder having kids. When you're homesteading and you're raising something, you're growing anything like that, especially hard if you don't come from that background, you're going to kill stuff. Like no matter what, stuff's going to die. You're going to make a choice. It's going to be the wrong choice, and something's going to die. So how do you deal with that?
You want to say how we dealt with that right off the bat?
Well, I mean, with the kids, when we got the chickens at first, I admit that they were my little babies out there. You know, it was our first.
Yeah, I mean, we were all like that. Everybody is like that, or you're probably not right in the head.
Right.
And all the chickens got names, and you know, we knew who they were. And then over time, you know, something happened and one of them died, and we walked out there and it was just laying there. And then with the kids, we had always told them, you know, when you go outside, we don't know what we're going to find from overnight. Like, just be prepared that anything could have happened. We don't know. And so it just,
there's a lot of stuff that can happen.
Yeah. And so we just kind of drilled them that, hey, things happen. They're outside. They're working animals. And then with the rabbits, we sat them both down. I mean, my little one does, you know, she's fine. She's really little. Yeah. But the older one, we made sure that, hey, we're getting these rabbits. The 3 are going to be there for most of the time.
Yep.
And then, you know, the babies will be fun, and then they're going to be gone, and we'll have dinner, and then we'll have more babies. And they've been awesome with it.
Yeah. I mean, they warmed up to it pretty good. And they've gotten better over the past couple of years. Like our kids, as soon as they can, they go scrambling out the back door for fodder for them. Like they'll grab a bunch of grass. They'll grab a whole bunch of dandelion leaves. And that's
awesome. They're involved in that and you know, actually active in doing it. You know, they're learning a skill and doing something. For me, when I was growing up, that was with my grandpa was gardening, and that's kind of what it stuck, you know, because it was fun. It was something to do. It was something for him and I to do. And that's going to be like lifelong skills for them.
Yeah. Yeah. No one can ever take those.
I wish I had learned that stuff when I was growing up, you know. And I think you guys probably have the right balance with it. You're not forcing any of it down their throat.
It's all
that's the one thing that'll turn a kid off from it. You know, if your parents make you do something, it's a chore now and it's no longer fun. But if they get to choose that and be involved with it, then you know, that's kind of a whole different ball game.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. There was somewhere I was going with that thought, and that passed away in my mind. Anyways, so when you guys do your actual processing and the dispatching part, I know you guys have talked a little bit about that. What do you do as far as, you know, do you have problems with neighbors? Do you have anybody like living close by and having a small lot? Do you have anybody who is like kind of sketchy about you out there killing rabbits and chickens in your backyard?
I don't know that with the rat. Well, we've got one neighbor to the one side of us that, you know, they have a big fence up, and we we try not to be showy about it. Like when we processed the chickens, we did it in between the 2 garages of the neighbor.
You're not out there bleeding them in the front yard.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not doing this to like show anybody, hey, look at what we can do. I mean, we really we backed our truck, you know, up to in front of us so that nobody from the road could see. And I don't think they even really noticed.
No, I mean,
they're right. Well, that's good. That's cool. Well, it's kind of cool to a lot of people don't think that way, and if they're living in town and they've got a small yard, they're afraid of what their neighbors are going to be doing and thinking and saying and whatnot. But most of the time, unless you're drawing attention to yourself, nobody really cares what's going on in your backyard. You know, and if you've got that neighbor that lives with his camera pointing at your house and sits there with binoculars all day, maybe you want to put on a show, give him something to look at. I don't know, but that's different. You know, I never really have had that experience even living in a small town. And if I lived somewhere where I felt like somebody was watching everything I do in my backyard all the time, I probably wouldn't want to live there. So I know that that's a big concern for a lot of people who have a small lot. Yeah. Have you guys tried quail? I can't remember if you guys have played with quail yet.
Not yet. It's on the list of stuff.
That was my first thing. Like I was living on a postage size, like little bitty rental lot with my landlord, like right behind me and my friend next to me and everything. We had this tiny little spot and I had a fenced yard. It was up on a hill, but we weren't allowed chickens. But they didn't say anything about quail and they didn't know. So I think I had a 3x6 coop and I'd have like 50 quail in there at a time because no matter how big of a space you give them, they clump together. They run as a little flock. So I had it on my back porch and we brooded our own in the house. I had a little incubator and everything. I mean, it worked out pretty well for being in town. Now, I don't like raising things that have to live in a cage when I have the option of letting them run around during the day. But so for me, I started with quail when I got out here and I still like them, but I was like, well, I'm the only food they'll ever get is the feed I throw them. And I've tried to tractor them and that just means they die at night. There's no way to keep the raccoons out of the dang tractor when it comes to quail sized. So I don't know. And it's hard to move them because they're so tiny. You're just going to crush them underneath the, So I don't know. The people who tractor quail, I'd like to see somebody actually pull it off and I want to see how they do it, but it's a really cool concept, but for people who have a small area, or if you're just raising it in an apartment or a garage, that's still something you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine you need half-inch hardware cloth on the bottom to be able to tractor them.
Yeah, I think so too. And then the hard part with half-inch hardware cloth is now you're not going to get the grass to like come up through that unless you're going to sit there and like shift it around and get it just right. It kind of just mats down, and then quail will leave a lot of dropping, so you just end up with this mat of.
That is very true.
But I did mine. The best I ever did mine was in rabbit hutch, just elevated and trays underneath to catch any droppings. But the thing I found I had to do in my area, at least, was we had the wire up on top of the bottom boards, and I had to actually add wire on the bottom boards about an inch below because their little feet, their little toes will go through the wire and stuff will come up at night and eat their toes off.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to leave like a gap, like an air gap of space so that I didn't have that problem. Predators are really bad here. I've got the national forest in my backyard, so it doesn't matter how much I kill, stuff comes back and eats things. So I just had to make my my pens like ridiculously predator proof.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a little bit of woods behind the house, but at most we have raccoons and possums, and I got a 20.
Yeah. Raccoons and possums are the worst though. That, and I've got rat snakes will come up and mostly steal eggs. I've had them kill whole pens of bantam chickens though, because they got into the coop, ate a bunch of eggs, couldn't get back out through the same hole once they're full of eggs, and hens pecked them, I guess, and they just went crazy and like constricted every chicken in the coop. So I get rid of those when I see them in the coop because, you know, you can, when you start out. So you guys, have you trapped predators? Have you dealt with predators a lot? You know, you deal with the people who tell you to relocate everything.
Yeah.
And,
that's not
making somebody else's problem. Yeah. No,
they take their,
everybody starts out doing that, trying to be the nice guy, but you learn eventually. They just come back.
Yeah.
Or they cause somebody else problems.
Yep. Yep. They take dirt naps out here.
Mm-hmm. So you're in town. Do you have like an air gun, or you go out with 22 and just don't care?
Well, I mean, once we go a little ways, we're out of town.
Yeah. So we're,
you guys trap them and then pop them.
We can walk and we're out in county town or county.
Yeah. So
right.
We'll,
right on the edge.
You know, we'll trap them here in a live trap, carry them back, 200 feet back to the ag area, and then just pop them with a 22. And leave them for the coyotes. Yeah,
I mean that's what you got to do sometimes. So, yeah, I didn't know if you were doing it much in the yard. And so when you guys are dispatching rabbits and stuff like that, you did, yeah.
We did one.
It's got to happen.
Yeah, it was a 20+ pound raccoon that just would not get in the cage.
Ooh,
so yeah, we were up at 2 a.m. My neighbor and I were pretty well drunk.
Yeah,
and.
we
were waiting for him to show up. And
redneck moments, 2 a.m. drunk, shooting raccoons in the backyard. Yep.
I got it on video too. So
we have proof.
Nice.
The garage.
That should be a TikTok. Well, no, don't put that on TikTok. You'll get your
the bullet hole in the garage is from the neighbor shooting a raccoon in his garage.
Oh.
Oh shit. Well, yeah. I mean, that's country living though, folks. Yep. It happens.
Yeah,
been there, done that. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've walked outside at 2 a.m. with a pistol, going, "What the hell's going on out here?" You know.
Oh, yeah, I have to.
Oh, you get those chickens going nuts, you know. And well, then the problem is now I've got geese, so most of the time, there's a problem when they do shut up. So it's a constant noise and chattering and squawking, and when things go eerily silent, you go, what's happening out there.
Yeah.
It cracked me up because recently I was at Float Fest and we went out there and I was cooking and everything. I parked the U-Haul I rented and we were camping out in there. And I had the bartenders and all my buddies were out hanging out. They were camped nearby too. And they woke up in the morning. They were all complaining and upset. I was like, what's your problem? We were right under a tree and the birds were singing right as the sun came up.
Mm-hmm.
And well, a lot of these guys live in Vegas and stuff. So they're not used to that. The birds they have are pigeons. So they're not used to the sounds of nature. And they're like, it was a late night. And these birds, they're waking me up. Like, the birds wake you up? What are you talking about? I was like, man, I sleep through roosters crowing. I sleep through all kinds of 3 a.m. I got one guy who just has to wake up and be the first one to start hollering, but you've got all those sounds and it's funny how you just kind of tune them out. And I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with this being up in the Midwest. And I've still got it down here in Texas too. We'll have train tracks not too far.
Oh yeah.
And the trains will go by and you'll hear that going off. And people who will come to visit will go, how do you deal with that all the time?
What trains?
Hear it.
Yeah.
Like what? It exists. But it's funny how you just kind of adapt to that, So have you had any neighbors complain about smells or sounds or odors or
no? The only thing
like
we
that?
had was the town wanting to start that the regulations.
Yeah, the regulations on the chickens.
I read something a little bit about that, or I heard something a little bit about that mentioned on one of the podcasts. So you guys had to do a little bit of battle with your city, and
they initially wanted to go with 4 hens, yearly permits, and it was just a hassle. So we fought them and fought them and fought them, and now we're allowed 14 or 16 hens, and then we're also allowed
pretty good.
We're also allowed to have up to a dozen meat birds at one time.
Nice.
And process.
And we can process on our property and nobody can say anything.
Because their biggest thing was...
Well, that's awesome that they're actually going to finally allow stuff like that. Because there's a lot of towns that will allow you to only have like 5 hens or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
I think they really listened to what we were saying finally. Because their big thing was, you're going to process, chickens in the front yard. It's like, No. We're not just, doing it to like,
right.
I'm going to do this to you next.
And this is a farm town. You got guys that go hunt deer.
Yeah.
You can't tell them they can't process.
Tell them I'm not going to process it on my own. Yeah, exactly. Like at least down here, it depends very much on the state, but down here, if you get a deer, your options are either process it directly at your home where you live or take it to a processor. So you're taking away that option from somebody. You're telling them they have to go pay somebody else to process their deer.
Yeah.
If they can't process it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I'm sorry, I'll save the money and do it here.
Right. And you know what? Right. And I agree with you. As a guy who processes deer for other people professionally, I agree with you. But that's part of why I started doing the podcast thing, because so many people want to learn how to do this stuff at home. And, there's nobody teaching anymore. Years ago, coming up, your daddy or your grandpa, they'd teach you how to do all this stuff because that was just part of life.
Yeah.
But we kind of lost that. I know I never came up doing it. I fell into butchering by accident, sort of, took a side job, and it turned into a thing. But most people don't get that experience. And I work with people all the time that are blown away when they learn stuff that seems completely normal and logical when you've been involved in processing. So I don't know. Well, when you guys do your processing, so your dispatch, are you guys mostly like what, broomstick method? Just kind of keep it low key in the backyard, or
we use
probably what I would do too.
We use the hopper popper for rabbits.
Okay.
And then we do I'll probably use that for the chickens when the broilers this year, because it was too much of a mess.
Because that was a big mess.
Yeah.
Right. I haven't I haven't tried the hopper popper. I've seen something about it. Can you kind of tell me a little bit about what that is?
It's so the easiest way, so like this part mounts against the wall, so it sits like this.
Okay.
You slide the rabbit's head in here, and then you just yank back on the back legs, and it's just
okay. Method. So it's not spring loaded or anything. It's just like just basically like a little fork that you put the head up in, and it does the cervical dislocation that way. Okay, cool. So it's like broomstick method on easy mode, footless broomstick.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I'll post a picture in the Telegram when we go out.
Cool. Yeah. Post picture in Telegram. We'll put that up there and everything like that. So sweet. Well, that's nice because it's a silent method, and you don't have the giant mess. So with chickens and whatnot, I still do old school. I do the old cleaver and chopping block. because it's quick and it's, it's what I have handy. I don't think I would do the same thing with rabbit though. So
no, it would be a lot harder with rabbit.
It would be. And, the old 22 method is great for larger livestock, but it's kind of a waste of ammo when you're dealing with small stuff, because you're not doing one at a time unless you're just doing an emergency call.
Right.
It's usually not worth making the mess for one at a time.
Yeah, we'll do 7 to 10 rabbits at a shot.
Depends on how many.
Yeah, depends how many are in the litter.
Right. So now, did you guys have a plucker, right? Did you make one or did you buy one?
It's homemade, but we bought it from somebody down on the south side of Chicago that was moving out of state. So it's a 55-gallon drum with a washing machine motor on it, and it works out great.
Yeah. So if you had to do it without a plucker, you probably would hate life, right?
I told you the only way we are doing birds is if we buy a plucker. And
right. See, this is why I avoid doing birds. I do probably maybe a dozen culls a year, just extra roosters and stuff, because I have little breeding projects going on. I don't raise poultry for meat because I hate processing them, probably because I don't have a plucker. But I also can't justify the investment for everything I have going on, and I don't want to run meat birds. I have too much else happening, and I get frustrated with it because I process larger livestock for a living, and I'll be 5 roosters in, blood covered, feathers everywhere, miserable, hating life, going, I could have quartered an entire steer and had it in the cooler by now, and I've got 20 pounds of meat for all this work and mess I have to clean up.
Yeah.
I don't focus on it, but I love having people who do it, because when you're on a small property, especially, and you're just raising for your family, it doesn't make sense to do large livestock. You can't pull it off, but it makes sense to do small protein. And you guys are making it work. So I like having people like you guys on, because you've got a perspective dealing with that I don't. So that's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah, I mean, anybody and their brother can do rabbits and quail, even in an HOA.
Right.
You keep them in a garage, you keep your mouth shut, and you just do it. So
I mean, a quail honestly doesn't sound like anything different than your normal songbirds. If your neighbors hear them talking and squawking, your roosters, they might make a little bit of a noise, a little bit of a crow, but most people can't distinguish that from some random bird just squawking in the tree. They don't hear it. They don't hear where it's coming from. And if you have them in a garage, you probably won't even hear that they're there.
The first time we had meat chickens, I don't think we were supposed to. Like, we may have been over the limit of what the town said. Yeah. And one of them was starting to crow. Yeah. Near the end, it was like, good thing it's next week.
Yeah.
It's time to let him go.
And that was an asshole too.
Yeah, he was a jerk.
Yep. It's always the ones that start crowing first. Those little testosterone birds. It seems like those are the ones that cause the most problems.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but so when you guys do your dispatch, you're processing, you're plucking, you got your feathers, you got your guts and all that. Do you guys just compost that? Does it go in your regular city garbage? How do you deal with it?
Coyotes. It's our offering.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We
have kind of take it out in the country a little ways.
And down this lane that's in the back of our house.
There you go. You got somebody that's cool with it. So that works out too. I know that's a big concern for a lot of folks. I've had folks that I showed up to kind of help them, like consultation type stuff to, they've got like a sheep or a goat that somebody gave them, or they raised in their backyard, and they've got little 10th of an acre lot or right behind their mobile home in a trailer park. They want to process this animal. It's like, okay, well, let's figure it out. But they go, well, what do I do with the guts? We need to think about that, because I'm not taking them with me.
Yeah.
We've wrapped them up in trash bags and timed it so it can go out with their city garbage and stuff like that. There's ways around it, but you're not talking about like a whole 150 pounds of hide and gut from a steer or something. It's
right. Yeah, no, it's at most we take the hog out, leftovers from the hog. We take, heads from the rabbits, hides, and we just throw them at. So we have a quarter. It's about a quarter-mile track behind our house that goes into the woods. Right. And I'll throw everything.
So hogs, you guys, when you do your hogs, you're not raising and processing them yourself or anything like that. You've been mostly getting them back pretty much killed and chilled. But I think I heard, because I think I finally caught up on your podcast, that you had one you guys had to go dispatch.
Yes, kind of. So our third one, we had a farmer call you, or one of your friends called you and said, my neighbors have a hog that's got a broken leg.
Right.
And they can't take it to the butcher because it won't walk in under its own power.
They won't take it. They can't do it. Yep.
Yeah. So we go and get it, and we meet the people that own the hog, talk to them, come up with, what it's going to cost us to, do it. Because I wanted to make sure I paid them for their work with the hog.
Right. Make sure they get something out of it.
Right.
Because otherwise it's just a loss for them. If they can't get it processed and they've just got to go out and kill it and bury it or something, it's a huge waste.
Right. Yeah. So they dispatched it for us, 9mm to the head, dropped it, no problem.
Yep.
I was actually there when they gutted it, so I got to learn how to do that. And then once that was done,
and if you can gut a deer, you can gut a hog.
Yeah. Well, once we got that done, we cleaned it up, cleaned it out, tossed it in the bed of the truck, and then went home. And you ran and got a gambrel that day so we could hang them up in the garage. And I got a chain hoist in there that I used to lift the deer.
Chain hoists are awesome for that. If you don't want to, if you do a couple a year, having a chain hoist, heck, I've done a whole, it was a miniature Hereford, I think. Yeah. But on a chain hoist, but you can get a 2-ton chain hoist that'll hold pretty much anything the structure above it will hold without problem.
Yeah.
They're kind of slow and they're greasy. You get your hands dirty or whatnot, but as long as you're prepared to deal with that, they're great,
Yeah.
And they're off grid. You don't have to worry about having a power hookup. You can haul that thing out in the bucket in the woods and string it up in a tree if you have to.
Yeah.
So
it works.
I love them for that. So you guys you were chilling it pretty much overnight because it was cold outside. Is that my understanding?
By the time we got back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was like 8, 9
That's
o'clock
awesome.
at night. I was getting
down. I love that you can do that because same with deer. I don't get that option in Texas. Even down here in deer season, like 2/3 of deer season, it's still above 45 degrees for the low at night.
Yeah.
So you pretty much have to either immediately skin and quarter it and get it on ice, or you have to have or know somebody that has a walk-in cooler.
Yeah. And we've talked about actually building a walk-in cooler here, but that's down the road.
Right. There's a lot of cool, cheap ways to do it now. I've worked with a lot of folks who have done it just because they want to raise, and chill cattle. And I've got a guy, I'm actually going Monday or Tuesday to finish helping him. He's getting ready to move to Tennessee. Oddly enough, I'm trying to hook him up with the whole LFTN community. Tell him to go because he's really into all that. But he built a walk-in cooler in his garage, and I think I've consulted with him and helped him process now 8 longhorns in 2 years out there, smaller, just stuff they've raised in their backyard. So it's worked out really well for him. He managed to scrap together some material from his job and everything, and he had some HVAC experience, but he put a cooler together for like $700.
Wow.
And he's ran 8 cattle through that thing in 2 years, and it's been rock solid the entire time. So he's to the point now he feels pretty confident in doing his own. So he's like taking that skill with him to Tennessee, and him and his buddy are he's gonna have a barn dominium, set up a cooler in there, and do all of his own processing and everything for friends and family and stuff. So that's been a really cool kind of experience with him. But there's a bunch of folks who have been able to pull it off. If you get a chance, I think it's coolbot.com, but you can just Google Coolbot. Yeah. That website, even if you don't use their controller, is a wealth of information on, insulation needs in a room, your size, what kind of, you could use an oversized window air conditioner and basically trick the controller into running. You can't pull off a freezer, but you can pull off a cooler for probably under $2,000 if you've got the structure to build it into.
About $2,000 to do it. You got a walk-in cooler.
And the way I look at it, it's like, even if you only do 1 or 2 large animals a year, if you have a homestead, if you have a garden, if you have stuff going on, there's never a time when you go, man, I'm sorry I have this much refrigerator space.
Right. Absolutely.
There's always something that can be used, and you can turn it off, or you can dial it back and adjust the temp up and use it as like a beer aging chamber or a cheese aging chamber. You can adjust that temp. You can run it at 58 degrees if you want to. But
that's good. So good point.
I keep telling people it's worth the trouble most of the time. So we can do it. Walk-in coolers are totally awesome. I would definitely go with that if you're going to do a lot with it. So you guys ever consider raising your own hog or anything like that? I know you got not much space.
And
food production is a fun thing. But if you've got access to extra food, or somebody runs a donut shop or something like that, it's easy to fatten a hog, and they eat everything that we eat and more.
Yeah.
I think that would probably tip the neighbors over the
Mm-hmm.
edge.
Yeah.
We talked about like sheep.
Yeah, I brought up sheep and goats.
It's probably more of an odor thing.
Yeah.
Because with pigs, if you can't move them around a lot, you're going to have a pig smell no matter what you do.
Yeah, I think that I don't know if we could do that.
Yeah, we at most we did sheep, or we're talking sheep and goats with a neighbor, and he said he didn't want them, so we were fine with that.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of hard. You're restricted when you have something that small or whatnot. Now, you never know if you've got your one of your buddies, one of your neighbors or whatnot that runs the big ag land back there and everything, and they didn't mind letting you lease, quarter acre, half acre off the back end of their spot to run something, and nobody can really say anything about it because it's ag land. You never know. You might be okay with if you turn around and say, look, for $2,000 a year, I'll just lease half an acre right behind our house, and you don't have to go out and plow it and plant it, and that section of land makes money and we can play with it.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's an option. It's an idea. So sometimes when you have a small area like that, I think people overlook the idea that you could go somewhere close by and pay for land and make it worth your, especially if you could do a little bit of a market garden or something like that, and make the money off the land itself to pay for itself. You're doing stuff that guy doesn't want to do.
Right. I would love to take what, so I'm looking out our back window right now, take our width of our lot and buy it back to the tree line from the farmer, because that's ag, and we could do whatever the heck we want on that.
Yeah.
Right. So, that'd be pretty cool if you could pull that off. Yeah. So when you guys do your processing, do you guys just for like the hogs, you do it in the kitchen? You just go out in the garage, set up, and throw out some tables, or
we start in the garage.
Yep, start in the garage,
and then grind inside and season on the inside.
Yeah,
that's probably the easiest way to do it.
We have like a 6-foot fold up table that we use. We have the chain hoist, good set of knives. We used a Milwaukee M12 hacksaw to split the hog last time.
We got that nice table with a little sink in it.
Yeah, we have a fish and game table that we use for cleaning stuff.
But yeah, we've had a couple.
I would say, hey, if you look at a lot of these new, they have the single hand reciprocating saws. I've got a battery powered one from Rigid, and I've got one from Lowe's too. I want to say it's their, I forget the Lowe's brand, the Cobalt, the blue one. It's actually a 110 plug-in, but those things, most of them have a closed chuck on the front. It's just got like a little knob, and it just moves in and out. So it doesn't have that big chuck on the regular reciprocating saws. It gets full of crap. You can clean it off. A good, the ones from Lowe's, I think it's Lennox Extra Sharp, but basically metal blades. If you're careful, you can do a lot of bone-in cuts with those. I've split whole steers with those little 6-amp reciprocating saws, and they are so much easier than the hand saw. And if you're worried about it, get that blade. You can just take a little bit of sandpaper to it and knock that paint off. But those metal blades work awesome for splitting carcasses, doing bone-in cuts, just any knife work that you want to do. Like you want bone-in pork chops, cut all the meat first with a knife and then split the bone, because that saw blade will tear the meat up. I get really picky about that.
We don't do a whole lot of meat cut or like bone-in cuts.
The bone-in stuff, right? Yeah. But you could, if you wanted to do some bone-in like roasts and things like that, that's a good way to do it. Or if you're trying to do splits, you'll save yourself a lot of work sitting there with that handsaw. I will actually, once you get good enough with it, I'll cut bone-in chuck roasts out of a cow with the single hand reciprocating saw. So I need to do like a demonstration video on that one of these times next time I get a chance to do one, because they're pretty cool tools. But I hate using hand saws. It's just me. I would sit there with a knife and debone the thing first if I can avoid using a saw, because it's a lot of work.
Yeah, we use it for the ribs on the hog, and that's about it. So
the way we do the cuts.
But if you're doing one, it's not that bad. But if you're doing it every day, it sucks.
The way we do the cuts would probably make a butcher cry. So
yes.
But that's okay though. As long as you guys are happy with it and you're happy with what you're eating, Yeah. And that's the thing, I'm biased. I want that, like, I'm super anal about the way I cut it, because I want it to look like retail quality stuff you'd buy off the store. But I'm also doing it either professionally or training people how to do it. So I have to raise that level on it. And that's kind of where I came from. It's how I learned it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, if you're happy with what you're eating and you're happy with the appearance of it, that doesn't matter, and there's always, that's how you learn, I can promise you right now, the first animal I processed looked like hot dog shit.
Yeah, that was the first one we did too.
For about 5 years straight, I deboned about 2,000 deer a year and cut steaks from them. And then outside of deer season, I was either cutting for retail meat or I was processing whole steers and pigs. On average, probably 3 to 7 a day. So if you can't make good cuts after doing that volume, you probably need to hang up the knives and find a better profession.
Yeah.
So I'm not knocking at anybody who has rough cuts or whatnot, but what matters is that you enjoy it and you've got protein for your family and you didn't have to worry. So did you guys ever have any concerns when like meat was hard to find in the store?
No, this all happened like right at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We literally went down.
It's peace of mind knowing you can walk outside and go, hey, look, there's meat for the table.
Yep.
Yeah, we literally went down all this road at March of 2020 is when we started all this.
Right.
Yeah, we've done a couple hogs, a couple deer, 40, 50 rabbits probably.
Yeah, well, because the original hog, she couldn't get a locker. So it was like, hey, does anybody want this? And figure out how to do it yourself. And so that's when we kind of walked right into that.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good for us.
Well, yeah, and it's about the same time that I branched out and started my own business type thing because all the processors, the little processors where I worked were completely overloaded.
Yeah.
Because everybody was scared. Everybody wanted to get stuff processed. Everybody, well, you couldn't take anything to these big lockers. There's 5 big processors in the US and 3 of them shut down because of the scary.
Yeah.
So everybody took all those. They started taking those animals to the small processors, and it all happens around the same time. You get all the big 4-H fair shows, which is their busy time, the private individual processing. So everybody suddenly, and it hasn't bounced back.
No,
it's gotten a little bit better, but you're looking at 6 months, a year. If you don't have a butcher date now, you're not getting that thing processed. You got people literally booking a butcher date before they think about the animal that they're going to buy to feed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
when I decided I was just done with some of the crap going on and popped out and started my own thing, I don't think I could have possibly timed it better. Everybody wonders, how do you start a business in the middle of a pandemic? You start providing something that nobody else can get.
Yeah. You fulfill a need and you run with it.
Right. And that wasn't even my intention. It wasn't like the timing thing, but that definitely worked in my favor, I think. Oh, Lord. Well, hey, I mean, I could ramble all day, but I know you guys have places to go and things to do. Before we wrap up here, too, I want to check comments. The Lots Project, he's been over here chattering. He wanted to know, how's the ham stuff going last night? So we got to talk a little bit about ham radio. Because I know that's been something you guys have really gotten into big. I'm a ham radio operator. I've been inactive for years because I've had too much crap going on. But I grew up with that. That was like my hobby when I was a kid. So and I kind of stuck with it. Me and my dad were really into it. I was actually a Skywarn spotter. I did that for years until I got everything done. Until I moved, actually, I kept up. I went to my yearly trainings and I was on a lot of the Skywarn nets and everything. When we started over in Mercer County, over on the far side of the state there, we had our own little amateur radio club. I was 16 years old. I was the president of the amateur radio club because I was the only one stupid enough to want to take on the responsibility. It was fun, and we were talking the other day about how I should get back into it and everything. And all this stuff's kind of coming back up. And then last night I checked the mail as I come home and I get a freaking letter in the mail from some random person hand addressed to me to my ham radio call sign. I'm like, what the heck? And it's about field day coming up. They have a thing in town and they wrote in marker above the top of it. And they said, you studied to get your ham license. Come join us. There's no obligations. I'm going, God, why y'all just harping at me? Come on, maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. I think it's the 25th, right? Is when
25th, 26th.
Yeah. So that'll be the day before I actually interview with Toolman Tim on the 26th. I'm going to be on his show. So maybe I can squeeze that in on that Saturday. I'll try to see if I can block it out and maybe go hang out with some local hams. But I understand you guys are doing field day at your place. So tell us about that and how that's has that brought like a community of people to you? Is anybody who's in the ham community on board with what you guys are doing?
So we have about, there's really 15 active hams in our club that show up on, for the meetings and stuff. And we're probably going to have
that's a pretty good haul though for ham radio in this day and age. And you're in a rural community, so you're not really in a big.
That covers like Northern Illinois. So we are like one of the few ham clubs in the entire.
So you've got a big multi-county club though. Okay, yeah. Well, that's cool.
And we're, some guys are 40 minutes away, some guys are half hour away. But yeah, we're setting up down here on the neighbor's property. He's got a 1 acre lake and a bunch of flat spot around it, and that's where we're going to set up.
Nice.
We're going to camp in here, set up some tents, and then I'm going to bring out, I have a FT 891 and a Wolf River coil vertical that we're going to set up.
Nice.
And then I think a couple guys are going to bring their radios and probably some wire antennas. And I have solar as well for mine, 2 deep cycle batteries. Nice. I've been licensed. What has it been? A year and 2 months, 3 months. So.
And you guys have done a ton with it in that year and 2 months. You've already got your extra. So you are top of the line. You're as licensed as you can be.
Yep. I when I go down a rabbit hole, I go down a rabbit hole.
You just went for broke, right?
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah. I was kind of the same way. I think I upgraded to general very shortly after I got my technician, which I got my technician right after. This is how far back it was. It was right when they dropped the code requirement for tech.
Yeah.
They completely dropped it. So I got in. It was pretty easy entry. And then I was like, all right, well, I can study for this code and like a tiny bit more and get my general. But it was 5 words per minute for code on general at the time and 20 words a minute for extra. And I think right when I went for my general was when they combined general and advanced. Yeah. It used to be there was, tech, general, or tech plus, general, advanced, extra. And I got in what was tech, and then they grandfathered tech plus into that, so I didn't have to. So I got access to some of the HF stuff. And then I went for the general, which gave me like 90% of it. And I was like, okay, I could go for extra, but I don't feel confident. I could do 20 words a minute code at the time when I really played with it. I didn't feel confident testing for 20 words. Yeah. So I didn't do it. And then it was a couple years later, they completely dropped the code requirements. And I was like, dang it. But I just never got around to doing it.
I will wholeheartedly admit I do not know how to do code. I am not. I want to learn.
I can't tell you I do anymore either. It's one of those you use it, you lose it type thing. I could still do SOS. I could still do. I could do CQ. I could probably tap out my old call, not my new vanity call. But it not a lot of guys are doing it anymore. I think it's a cool thing to learn. And I think if anybody really wants to learn Morse code, there is a use case there that you can get by. You could QRP some stuff, low power some things that nobody else can. You could be in like a remote mountain in the Andes and tap out CQ on a little Altoids 10 radio with a 9-volt battery, and somebody could hear you on the other side of the world. You can't do that any other way.
No.
But you also are you're talking to the 1% of people out there who know how to even speak that language.
Honestly, it's making a comeback. There's a lot of people jumping into CW now.
Nice.
Really good Long Island CW club. If anybody wants to learn it, is what I've heard, and I'm probably going to sign up with them.
Nice. Well, the nice part about it though is now you've got your extra, you've got full access to everything. If you ever want to just dabble and tinker, and most of those guys I'm sure are very accepting of people who are learning. And if you come in with the understanding that, hey, I'm still learning code, they're going to give you feedback and help you along the way.
Yeah.
Hams are cool like that. They're a pretty accepting community of new people. I've really noticed that. Yeah. So it's a lot like a lot of homesteaders. Well, the good homesteaders. I'm sure you guys have run into the ones online that, they just want to knock everybody down for crap that they do because they don't understand, or, they're learning. So when it comes to, have you guys had any crossover between the ham community and like the homesteading community? Are any of those guys that are involved in the ham side, are they interested in what you guys are doing in the homestead, or has it been kind of like just two separate worlds for you?
We have a couple of people in our group. Yeah.
Yeah. And the group that we started a couple months ago are now bringing up like wanting to learn ham. So it's kind of neat to see the overlapping.
Yeah.
Nice.
Where it's
I know there's a lot of people in the homesteading kind of preparedness community that are interested in ham radio. I'm not sure anymore if there's as much crossover coming from the other way. Like you talk to a bunch of hams and stuff, and I don't know if a lot of them are really doing what we're doing.
Yeah, we have one guy that came out and helped us process the hog, and he's from the club.
Nice. Awesome.
So that's
in a rural community like that too, you probably have a lot of that going for you. There's more people who grew up on a farm than not.
And it's been interesting because when we've posted up like, hey, we're going to be butchering this hog, or hey, we're doing this, there hasn't been a lot of
feedback,
interest. Yeah. But now we're doing the chickens, and there's been a lot of people that want to learn how to do the chickens.
Well, because it's intimidating. Everybody hears, hog, that's big, and most people aren't going to raise a hog. Right. Chickens, rabbits, that sounds interesting, doable. Let me play with this. So you guys thinking about doing some like workshops?
Yep.
And put those on and some actual training. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're gonna do a workshop with chickens, and we might line up perfectly with when we need to call or butcher the rabbits.
Yeah, we'll see.
So that might be the same.
Well, you guys have to let me know how that goes, and what you guys are doing as far as costs and how you made it work and what you're charging and stuff like that. I'd love to hear that because I'm thinking about doing something similar next year for Float Fest. I'm working with one of the neighbors. He raises meat cheap, but he's thinking about doing some broilers, thinking about maybe some rabbits and stuff too. So he may want to do a workshop on some of the smaller stuff, and I might do combined with him like slaughter workshop type thing on sheep for people who want to buy in, and then actually have it be part of a demonstration for the event. And we're playing with that. We're trying to work out numbers though and figure out what's going to make sense, what's fair. So I'm totally interested in how that works out with you guys. And if you have any tips there on organizing that, because I've got about a year to plan it.
Yeah. We're not experts, that's for sure. So we're going to.
Well, no, but still, this is kind of a new, not really new, but in this day and age, it's kind of a new space to be doing workshops on meat processing and bringing people in. So I think people who are involved in that, let's all communicate and figure out what's the best ways to do it. Because I like learning from other people's mistakes. I make plenty of my own, and I try to learn from those. But but that's why we're doing this kind of educational stuff. So
right. And
hey, do you guys have any questions for me or anything? And I cut you off. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
that's okay.
I do it all the time.
Why don't you say what you're going to say?
I think I was getting nervous about doing the chicken processing class because it's like we haven't been doing this for like years. Like this is still new, but I kind of think that'll help because people are going to come over.
You've still done more of it than the average person. The thing is, the people who are coming to you and they want to learn, they have no experience.
Right.
You're sharing the experience you do have.
Yeah, it's not intimidating going to someone who's like done this a million times. Like, hey, look, we just learned how to do this a couple of years ago. Look how easy it is. You know, it's
exactly. It's like with me and with me and Brian, all the Bitcoin Lightning stuff we've been talking about. You know, everybody's like, I'm not an expert, but I'm telling you what, if a random butcher and a gas station repair guy who does Comfrey can figure out how to use this crap, y'all can figure it out too. So it's the same thing when it comes to the chicken type.
Yeah, you figured it out.
You got that down home. You're in a backyard in a half acre. You've been doing this for a couple of years, and you can pull it off. So that puts people at ease too. You know, if you guys can do it, and the way that you're doing it is going to be very similar to the way that people who are just getting into it are going to have to learn to do it. You know, so it's approachable.
Yeah, we don't have big barns. We're just doing what we have.
No. Well, you don't learn how to process your own cow at home by walking through a Tyson factory either. You know, it's not the same thing.
Yeah. It'll be fun though.
It's been fun doing the hogs. The real learning curve was when we first started doing the deer, and that's when the neighbor showed us how to do that.
Right.
That's really when you
there's a lot of similarity, but there's also a lot of differences.
Right. And when you brought up the hog, it's like, well, I've already done deer, so let's do something bigger.
Yeah.
Right. So. Exactly. Oh, before I forget, you mentioned hogs. You guys were talking about bacon and stuff like that. Do you guys do like a cured bacon, or are you guys doing fresh bellies, or?
We cure it, but
kind of.
We like have it. We put the stuff on it, and it's in the refrigerator, and you're flipping it, for a week.
Oh, okay. So you're doing the dry brine.
Dry brine.
Yep. That works too. There's really two ways you can do dry brine, or you can do EQ method, which is a specific amount in a solution of water, and it soaks for a certain amount of time, so you can't accidentally oversalt it. That's how I usually do it. But if I'm doing it for somebody else, I want to make sure. It's probably where I'm most comfortable. I've done dry brine before, and sometimes it's really good. I've done it for myself too. But and you can, it gives you a little more freedom to play with different seasonings in your batches. So, but that's the fun part. You get to experiment and try this stuff that you would never be able to try. Mm-hmm. You're not going to buy that stuff on the store shelf. You know?
Yeah, I mean, last time we used this maple syrup that we tapped, on our property.
Oh, so that's awesome.
All kind of came together.
Yeah.
It's another thing I'm jealous of the Northerners for. I can't do that down here. We don't have sap trees that way. We have, I can tap a maple, but it's not going to do anything.
Yeah, we have soft maples, a couple oaks, but you can't do anything with the oaks. And then we have a black walnut. Yeah. We tap the black walnut too.
I didn't know you could tap walnut. That's awesome. I had a huge black walnut next to our house growing up. So we had half the yard was a dead zone.
Yeah. So is ours.
So luckily we can use it for something.
Yeah. Because
right. That is cool. And if nothing else, you got black walnuts. Tons of black walnuts.
I haven't done anything with them yet.
There's some stuff you can do with them. They're not as good to eat as the English walnuts, but they are pretty decent to eat. And if you want to take them and once you hold them and you dry them out, it's a lot of work to go out and crush them. But I mean, get the girls out there with a hammer.
Yeah.
But those actual walnuts, they're great for feeding things like chickens, and you could actually fatten a hog pretty well on nuts. So
I know you can make ink out of them. So that's one thing.
Yeah, those holes, you can make dyes. Right. Like you can actually dye your own clothing. It's like almost like a black dye. Because you'll know when you get it on your hands, those dry husks. It dyes really well. So, but I like doing stuff like that, finding all the native plants, things like that are around, and what can I use this for? Mm-hmm. Even if I don't, I want to know how. I want to at least try once.
So. It's like last year we discovered the elderberries out back. I mean, I sold elderberry syrup like constantly last fall.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't even keep up.
I've tried to plant elderberries out here, and I'm sure there's probably some growing wild that I just haven't found. But I've never had luck getting elderberries growing. People all around me like, oh, my elderberries are doing so good. I've bought cuttings. I have done seed. I've done everything. I've never had an elderberry come up. So, I think Amy actually I think Amy on her podcast was saying the same thing, that they were doing all this stuff to try to get elderberries going. And all of a sudden one day, there's elderberry I've been killing for years that's been growing here. I've just been pulling it up.
Yeah, well, it's like
keeps coming back, honey badger like.
I found some grapes out back, and it's like we've always just weed whacked, all along the back fence. It's like those are grapes.
Yep. Oops.
We've got a bunch of muscadine grapes or Mustang grapes, either one. They grow out here all over the woods. And what I've thought for years was, okay, there's about 1 out of 100 of these vines. It's actually a female vine that produces, because there's never a ton of grapes. There's a ton of grapes, but never a ton of grapes.
Yeah.
So I was like, gosh, I guess I need to pick the ones that I see produce and try to cull the other ones out, make some space.
Yeah.
And then I'll notice from one year to the next, it's like a different vine will produce and a different vine will produce. And I'm like, maybe they just cycle, they don't produce the way, a normal commercial vine does pretty much consistently every year. It's like a bi-yearly thing, and it's like a rotation type thing. So I guess I just leave it alone and go out and pick what shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting. So when you've got space in the woods, you can go walk around and you can go back year to year. You can kind of observe stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
When I see one that does really good, I try to take a cutting and transfer it up into the actual garden area and see if I can get it to grow and do its thing. So
I should do that.
I like doing that. I do that with blackberries. I select the best ones out in the woods and just bring them up, because I know it already grows well here. So why bring in something that grows well in Arkansas when I know what grows well in Texas, and I know it produces well by itself in the woods? So let me give it optimal conditions and see.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, shoot. Oh, well, we're a little bit over an hour, and I know you guys got stuff you want to do. You're itching to go look at the ham stuff. So you guys have anything else to say or thoughts or ideas before we kind of wrap things up? And if anybody has more comments, go ahead and throw them out there before we.
Yeah. The only thing, if anybody has any questions for us, you can get us at info@twochickshomestead.com and on our website at twochickshomestead.com. And that's pretty much about it.
Nice. Awesome. And I see, looks like Brian's over there in the comments. Said, hey, he says, good morning. Yo. Awesome. All right. Yeah. So, check out the over at twochickshomestead.com. They've got all kinds of fun stuff. I've got that going on the banner across the bottom there. And I've got everything that I've got going, including this live stream and all the contacts and ways to follow me or the podcast at live.libertymeat.solutions. Check out the Renegade Butcher thing, renegadebutcher.com. I guess up there. I can't point the right direction. It's mirrored. You can find all that fun stuff. We're trying to get this seasoning thing launched. So we're looking at maybe a membership type thing for that. We'll see. We did get, I don't know if y'all got a chance to see, I think I said at the beginning, we've got some of this merch going here. Check this out.
Yeah,
you can go
some.
check
Yeah,
that
I gotta
out.
order this shirt.
Buy you some cool shirts or odds and ends. There's a bunch of stuff. You can get like a pot holder and things like that. But any of that stuff, if you feel like buying it, that goes to help support launching the seasoning type thing. And once that's going, it'll be available. But probably we'll be doing a thing where it's a limited amount of people who can join, like a club type deal. And if you get in on that, like you'll be one of 100 people who've ever helped get this seasoning launched, and it'll give you a bunch of special perks and stuff. So we're fiddling with that. I'm going to see what I can get out in this next week on that sort of thing, and give a special super duper membership with like, you get your own stuff nobody else can buy type thing. So that's what we got going on there. I got to hopefully get some more content coming out this week, something actually educational and useful, other than random updates from the road as I run around like a chicken with my head cut off. No pun intended. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up here and let you guys get on with your day. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to come out here and hang out with the Renegade Butcher. Maybe we can do this stuff again one of these days. Maybe I'll get a chance to get on your show or something like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So awesome. All right. Well, hope you guys have a great weekend and go spend some money on some ham gear. I want to see some pictures.
Yeah, there'll be pictures posted. So we got to get
awesome.
a new antenna for your truck and new shack for our new radio for the shack downstairs. So
awesome. That'll be awesome. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to y'all later, and don't have too much fun. We'll catch up with you in chat. And if you guys aren't on it, you can check out the Liberty Meat chat on Telegram. That's probably the best way to get a hold of us. That and a lot of the other little chat groups that are all connected with these podcasts seems to be where most of the really good conversation goes. So you can find those links over on the website, and you can catch up with me and Nate and Erin and everybody else over there. So, all right, everybody, have a great weekend. Take care and be free.
Yep.
Bye.
Adios.